And I'm going to bring us up on my phone. So, welcome everyone. I am Corey Walmsley, and I'm here today with best-selling author Traci Blasko. And we're going to be talking a little bit about her book, about her inspiration, all kinds of stuff, because she published, it was last spring, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it was like right at the beginning of all the craziness with COVID. And so we have a lot to talk about with this. Right now, I'm pulling us up so we can see any comments. So if you're watching and you have a question for us, please comment in the comments and we will be answering you. So all right, so we are on. So Traci actually worked with me. She was one of my coaching clients. We edited her book. It is absolutely phenomenal. So you'll have to make sure you show that off. It is one of the most gorgeous books. And I'm just going to let Traci go ahead and introduce herself and talk a little bit about what she does.
Well, like I said, Corey, this is always an interesting question because there's the long answer, but I'm going to go with a short answer. And I guess to wrap it up, I would say I'm a facilitator of joy. I always kind of functioned from a joy-centered heart growing up. I was raised in a very positive environment. I give my parents credit for that. And then just went through a period, like many of us do, of about 4 years, like starting in 2011, where there was just so much going on. And I just didn't even realize that like I had gotten so far away from that joy center, which led me to, which I'm sure we'll get into some of this through our discussion, but it led me into being able to find some tools and techniques that helped me find my way back to joy. So I just have a passion to help others find their joy too, and do that in a multiple of different ways.
Awesome. Yeah, I guess that would be the short answer of it. Yeah,
It didn't sound very short though.
No, and I think that, finding joy, of course, is so important. And it's something that as a society, we sometimes kind of brush to the side because we're so caught up, chasing our goals and, checking off the lists of stuff. And I imagine most people do get to that point, like you said, you did. And I love that this book was inspired by things that you went through in your own life and you were able to take what you learned and share it with others. And I think that's such a beautiful thing to be able to do. So your book was published last year and it hit #1 in, I think you said 7 categories. So that is a huge, huge win. And it happened right at the beginning of COVID. So I feel like it was such a fortuitous thing to be putting out at that point. The world shut down. I know my kids had just been sent home from school. Surprise, pick them up off the bus. You guys are going to be home for 2 weeks and they're still here. They're actually in the other room. They're still here. They haven't been back. So, right at the beginning of COVID with everything, tell me a little bit about, we'll talk about the book writing process in a minute, but tell me a little bit about how you felt and what you went through, trying to launch this book and going for bestseller status and all that kind of stuff.
Honestly, it was an emotional roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
There was so much going on. And I also had something going on with one of our kids that was not a positive thing. Like one of our children had to have surgery and it actually happened to be on that day of my launch. Okay. And, here I am launching a book about joy as we're starting a pandemic and the world shutting down. And it was really kind of difficult to know how to feel on that day. But thankfully, everything went well with our child that had to have surgery. And at the end of the day, when I was getting pictures sent to me of you hit #1 in this category and you hit #1 in this, it was glorious. Like I was so excited, of course. It just is quite an experience I feel, I guess, honored and blessed that I was able to experience that because it ended up to be a really wonderful day. And, through the course of the year, which none of us, of course, knew what this year 2020 was going to be bringing to us. Mm-hmm. it was really kind of humbling in a lot of ways to know that some of the techniques that people shared with me that they used or tried that helped them through, a challenging year, because it was a challenging year for all of us in different ways.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Um,
definitely an emotional roller coaster.
yeah, I can imagine. And I do remember you telling me, I think it was like first thing that morning, you were like, hey, this is what's going on, but we're still doing this. And, stuff like that happens.
Right.
Um, and I think it's wonderful that you were in a position where you could be like, this is handled. My launch is happening. I know it's going to happen. I know it's going to work. And I'm going to focus on my family right now and just let this launch happen. So I think that's such an amazing thing that we're able to do, when we're in this sort of position as authors and, as business owners, is to be able to just trust that process,
Well,
especially when you prepare for it too.
and I was going to say, and to trust my team,
Mhm.
because when you launch a book, it like you can't. I couldn't have done it on my own. Maybe some people do, but like between yourself and Karen, who did the layout for the book, and Stacy helping me launch it, like it was a team effort. And you're right, I was so thankful to have that team of supportive people behind me and be able to just let it happen on launch day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I absolutely love the team that, that we have. So
Yes.
I'm also very thankful for them. Um, so I want to talk about a little bit about the process, and then we're going to dive into what's actually in your book. So I think we met, we were saying like the fall of 2017 when I did a workshop in the Pittsburgh area. That's when we initially met, I think. And, you came into the workshop. So just tell me a little bit about your process from that point on.
Well, it had started like a year before that. Actually,
Okay.
it started at the beginning of that year, at 2017, as I was coming off of those difficult 4 years and just realizing I wasn't feeling like myself. And I knew I finally figured out what was missing, and that was that feeling of joy. Like I had always functioned from that place. So I really had decided that I need to find my joy again. I knew it was still in there, but I wasn't feeling it. So I went on this search and I was looking for um, other professional women to connect with. And it led me to find Joy Buffalini's group. And I thought, isn't that interesting that the leader of the group's name is Joy? Like, good one. So I went to her group, and that's actually how I met you and started coaching, which I don't know if anybody listening to this call, if you're questioning coaching, like that was a huge step out of my comfort zone for me to hire a coach. I had never done it. I don't know why, but it was the best thing that I have ever done. So if you're questioning it, do it, invest in it. After coaching with Joy, I realized as things started setting in motion that um, I realized she asked me the question. Actually, it wasn't even a question. She made a statement. Does your life reflect what's important to you? Like your life should reflect what's important to you. And I'm thinking, I have a wonderful life. There's not a lot wrong with my life, but there were some things missing that were really important to me. So that's when I went on my goal to become, I wanted to become a published author. I wanted to do more with my art work. And then when we met and I went to your workshop, I had all these thoughts in my head, but by the time I left your workshop, I knew exactly the layout of the book and the chapters in it and exactly how I wanted to lay it out. So that was a huge step for me, because then I was anxious to get started on it.
Mhm. Yeah. And then I think, was it 2019 was when we started officially coaching together and working on the book?
So
That's
it was like May of 2019, I did your brilliant business book
Mhm.
series, or coaching series, which was great, because the reason it took so long is because we had a huge move. We moved from Ohio to North Carolina. So there was a lot in that process because we were involved in multiple businesses, and it was just a kind of a lot of effort there. So we ended up down in North Carolina, and then I was able to focus on writing my book.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we had a lot of fun with that.
Yes.
And I did want to mention, you brought up your artwork and combining your art and your writing together. Do you have your book out right now
I
that you
do.
can show everybody? Yeah, so if you can just show it off. Show off your book a little, and the journal, because it's such a beautiful combination of, those two things together.
Oh, well, thank you. And again, it was a team effort, and I loved working with Karen. She had great input, and yourself as well. So this is the cover of the book. It's called Becoming Boldly Joyful. And that's actually my daughter on the front.
I
And
remember I thought that was a stock photo, and I was like, how did you find a stock photo that looks so much like you?
and that's a piece of my artwork behind her in the background. So the book is set up, I put some tabs on here in case we wanted to reference anything today, but it's set up more like a workbook. So it goes section by section, and then just offering some exercises and actionable steps and some insights and some stories of other people, other people's stories inside. And I really wanted to make it interesting, um, easy to follow. You can pick it up and do a little bit at a time. It's not like you have to do it all at once. And I liked that you could write in the book and answer the questions right inside if you want. So it's a reference for yourself to go back to. But then, as you said, I really wanted to incorporate art in it. Originally, I thought the art would be inside of the book. But as we went through the process, it evolved into something different, and decided that it would be better to do a complementary journal, a companion journal. And in the journal, I'm not sure how I can do this, is more artwork and then little quotes, inspirational quotes. And this was a process too, finding the type of art that I wanted to do, which is a whole nother story. But anyway, that's the journal.
Yeah, and I think that is just such a cool thing to have. And I love that you used, I think actually one of Joy's quotes is in there. I think you quoted her in there, because I was flipping through and I was like, hey, I know her.
Yes,
Yeah,
I did.
yeah.
Yeah,
So that just turned out so cool. And I did want to ask, I know we're all inspired from lots of different stuff. Would you say that your artwork helped inspire your book, or was it more like the book and then you were inspired to create art to go with it?
it was the book first, and then inspired to create art to go with it. We had owned a salon and spa in Ohio a number of years ago, and I worked with a lot of young women, young entrepreneurs. They were independent contractors, and they worked inside of our salon. And I just started noticing patterns, in people, and there's just so much self-doubt in the world. And, we a lot of us struggle with self-esteem and just confidence and belief that we can accomplish anything that we believe we can accomplish. And sometimes that belief is not strong. So it's important to me to help other people believe in themselves enough that they can accomplish anything that they're wanting to accomplish, because there's a reason that they're wanting that they have a passion for it. So I've just naturally been able to work with a lot of people in different aspects, helping them to believe in themselves. So all of that information, my own personal journey, and like all those thoughts were in my head. So that was first. The book was first. And that's why I appreciated working with you, because it helped me organize the thoughts so that I feel it's easy to follow along in the book. It kind of all came together. And then my art was it was interesting, because for years I've dabbled in art, but I never went to art school. I never really did it professionally. So we're finally in North Carolina. I finally have time. I have a whole room dedicated, pulled out all my art supplies, so excited to start. And I came in and I didn't know what to do. I didn't even know what medium I wanted to use. Do I want to do watercolors or acrylics, or I was lost. And I kept coming out of leaving my art room feeling frustrated. I'm like, are you kidding me? After all this time, I'm not going to do art. So that was a process, and I had to really be patient with myself and give myself time to explore different things. And through that journey, I found mixed media, which is a combination of all sorts of things. And I fell in love with that. And it just so me, because it's very eclectic, it's messy, it's, a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and very intuitive. And so it was a great match. And that's what all of the art in the journal ended up to be.
That is so cool. Yeah, I love art too. Actually, I don't know if you can see it in the background behind me. There's a turquoise piece. I guess it's not very clear. That's a Traci Blasko original.
Your mermaid.
Yeah. And then the one beside that, the elephant, is one that I did. So I love painting and stuff too. And I just always find it very interesting to talk to people who love doing more than one form of art and seeing that combine, and seeing how the two play together, because it's always a conversation. And you take in things from what you're around. You watch a show and it inspires you, or you go for a walk and it inspires you, you're around people and it inspires you. So that could be a whole other conversation that we
I
have.
know.
Yeah, I always love hearing about how people are working on different types of things and how they combine them together. And actually, I guess your book and your journal could be considered like a mixed media anyway, because it is writing combined with artwork. So that's very cool. And I did want to dive in and talk a little bit about the tools in your book. And you said that these are things that you used to help bring more joy back into your life. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, which that's another really long story, but some of the highlights, or I think one of the first things is to give yourself space. Like I share this in the book. I had somebody my mom passed, and then a year later my dad passed, and they were the patriarch of our family. Everything functioned around them. So it was just rocked our world. And somebody a few months after my dad had passed said, "Have you given yourself time to grieve?" And I was like, is that a thing? Can I do that? Can I take time aside and step back and say, I need some space to just experience what I need to experience? That wasn't in my world. I didn't even know that was an option at that time, because the world I was in, it was like, it's okay to feel bad, but you got to get back on the horse and you got to get back out there, because we're strong and we can handle things.
Yeah.
So that was a big tool for me, to give myself permission, I guess, to take a step back and be quiet when I needed to be quiet, to be sad when I felt sad, and to explore that and just allow it. And through that process, it wasn't only about grieving, it was also about finding where I wanted to go next. Because I think we get so busy on that merry-go-round that we're not living in awareness any longer. We're just, we get on autopilot and we don't realize we're on autopilot. So that was huge for me, to take a step back. And that's when things really started to change for me, to say, okay, what do we want our life to look like? It didn't look bad. It just was we just weren't living in awareness. We were just on the merry-go-round. So I would say that's a big one, to take a step back and give yourself space and really choose to live in awareness. Be conscious of the choices you're making.
Yeah, I think that's especially good this year to step back and give a little space. I know everybody's been grieving something, whether it's the loss of, a job or family or whatever, or actually the loss of just being able to get out and be around other people. I feel like there's been kind of a grieving around that, around events. So I think that giving yourself space and trying to figure things out is ideal. I think that's great. Thank you for sharing that with us. So that's one of the things that you talk about in your book. And I remember you had the book broken down into different sections. So it's not like you're just giving all of this advice, like flooding them with it. Like you have it so well organized. I'm trying to think how it was. I know there was a spiritual section and like a health section. Can you talk a little bit about that and why you decided to break it into different sections?
And that came from your workshop, actually. That's what appeared,
Yeah.
evolved from your workshop. So I have the first section is spiritual, and then there's 5 chapters in the spiritual section, each with exercises, suggestions, actionable steps.
Mhm.
And then it moves into emotional with 5 more chapters, and then physical, 5 more chapters, and then intellectual. So our joy factor
Mhm.
comes from being balanced in all 4 of those areas, I believe.
Okay. Yeah. And I just love how you had that. I think the whole book is just amazing. So if you're watching this, make sure you check it out because it is such a wonderful, beautiful work, not just visually, but also, for the soul. Read it, love it. So I wanted to talk about, you said you did your big move, you wrote your book, you've been able to bring joy back into your life. Obviously, I don't expect anybody to be operating clear up here all the time. So I'm sure you've had, ups and downs over the years. So, how do you use the tools in your book in your life today?
Well, I think I use them every day. And I think, again, one of the biggest things is to live in awareness. Like if I'm starting to feel a little, what do I want to say, like anxious in any way or frustrated in any way, I really take a step back and give myself space and say, what is really causing it?
Mhm.
It's really not maybe that other person or maybe that event or that comment or, it's usually almost always something within me. Maybe I feel like I'm putting too much on my plate again, or, I'm feeling frustrated that I'm not finishing something before I'm starting something else. So I really try to commit to finishing what I'm doing while I'm doing it, and also being very aware of not putting too many things on our plate again, because I really want the space in there. I think that's one of the biggest things 2020 taught all of us collectively, is that we need more pauses. We need more space between the activities
Mhm.
to just be and enjoy. I know a lot of people pick a word for the year. So my word this year is savor, because
Good.
it reminds me to just savor this moment and all that it's offering,
Mhm.
whatever it is, and rather than constantly thinking of what I'm going to be doing next.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's really a good word. I've seen a lot of words, and usually mine comes to me. I haven't really had anything
Not
pop
yet.
up, and I feel like, savor is really something that I've been able to kind of latch onto as well. That slowing down and cutting out the stuff that wasn't really necessary and being able to actually focus. Like I know that over the past few months, I have had more awareness, and I feel like it's been a good thing for us. We've been able to. I'm not running my kids all over the place. They're remote schooling, and yeah, that's a challenge, but that also means that I get to see them on their lunch breaks. So
Right.
it's been something nice to be able to savor that, because that's not something I'm going to be doing. Hopefully, I won't be doing that next year and the year after, and all of that.
Excuse
We'll
me.
be hopefully back on a regular routine. But yeah, there's so much to think about. And thank you for talking about your book, Traci. I really appreciate that. I did want to move on a little bit and talk about what you've been doing professionally, because I know you guys just, is it a farm? Is that, okay. So you guys just bought a farm. So tell me about that. Tell me about what's going on for you right now.
Excuse me. So one of the things in this boldly joyful journey
Mhm.
that we're on collectively as a family is that we wanted to create a family business. My husband and I wanted something that we could pass on to our children if they wanted it, have a legacy, so to speak. And so we met as a family, and we have a son, daughter, and son-in-law. And we wanted to choose something that used all of our gifts, our strengths. And we were like, what are some things that we could do? So we had this big powwow brainstorming session, and we came up with doing outdoor events like artisan markets, because it allows us to promote other people, to help young, not young entrepreneurs, not in age, but newer entrepreneurs, people who are, in creating their own businesses. We love supporting entrepreneurial people, and it allows us to be outside, and it just used a lot of our strengths. So we decided we were looking for a piece of property. We found a 73 plus acre piece of property about a half an hour from where we live now. And so we bought it. It was forested land. So we're reclaiming the land and we'll be replanting. And right now, though, we're in the excavation part. So it's a little muddy and it's quite interesting, but it's like we're just finding all these hidden treasures in it. There's all these quartz crystals, and there's this giant one that's like 6 foot tall. I'm not even sure what it is, but it's huge. And there's a beautiful creek on the property, and it's already been such a wonderful experience for us. So we're excited to see where that goes, and excited to see all the other people that we'll be connecting with, the vendors that will be coming in, and it's evolving. We're not even sure exactly what all it's going to turn into.
Well,
it's called Mulberry Creek Farm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been really fun.
Awesome. Well, I can't wait to hear more about that over time. And I do want to come see it sometime too. So maybe I'll be able to, maybe someday when the world opens back up, we'll be able to head south and go check that out. Yeah. So to wrap it up, did you have any final thoughts, any advice to somebody who might want to be, somebody who's thinking about a book and they're just not sure? I have a child tapping on my shoulder in case you can see that.
Hi.
Talia.
Can you please just let us go outside? London's bored and I'm bored.
Nothing better than going outside to play.
Oh. Talia, you're on a Facebook Live right now. You're showing the world your teeth.
I'm London.
Okay, and this is London.
And her older sister.
They're my office mates, my CFOs.
We're gonna be good.
Okay, can you guys pop down?
Of joy, right? There's a whole frame of joy right there.
Yes. Okay. This is real life.
That's real life. Nothing wrong with that.
So as I started to say, do you have any advice for somebody who's been thinking about a book? Maybe they've got some notes, maybe they've got some journals. What would you tell them?
Definitely hire a coach, and I would pick you. That helped me tremendously. I mean, I just appreciated your insight, and through editing and everything, it made it even better. So definitely hire a coach. Or getting into a writing group. I didn't do that, but I think I would have enjoyed that, just getting into other groups where people can read your writing and give you their input. You have to be careful about that though. Like you want other people to read it and give you their input, but you really want to stay true to what word you're trying to put out there and not let people change that too much, because you want it to be your energy that's in the book. But I would say, just whether you're writing a book or just in life in general, be courageous. Have courage enough to be yourself, because there's always going to be people who don't understand who that is or why you're making the decisions that you're making. But just be strong enough to make them, because whatever it is that's on your mind and that is your passion, there's a reason that it's in there.
Yeah.
So find the tools to help you succeed. And create your boldly joyful life.
There you go.
Yeah, you won't be sorry.
Yeah, I love that message, and definitely being courageous. I think that's very important for the author journey. So I want to make sure everybody knows where they can find you, where they can find your book, all of that kind of stuff. So you want to go ahead and share that?
Yeah, sure. So pretty much all of my links are easy to find in my website, which is boldlyjoyful.com. And then the farm isn't on there, but if anybody has interest in that, it's Mulberry Creek Farm, NC, like North Carolina.com. So between those two websites, you can pretty much find links to our Facebook page and my Facebook page. And I have a link to Amazon for the book and the journal on my boldlyjoyful.com page.
Awesome. Okay. And the book is Becoming Boldly Joyful. and there's a journal that you can get to go with it, and it is so fabulous and a bestseller. So I want to say thank you, Traci, for joining me today. It was so wonderful connecting with you again and getting to chat. I know it's been a while since we were able to talk, and I love that you were able to share your author journey and all the fabulous things that that you have to offer. So if anybody has questions, if you're watching the replay and you want to comment, go ahead and comment. We will make sure we answer. But again, thank you, Traci, and everybody be boldly joyful and courageous and all that good stuff.
Awesome. Thanks.
Okay. All right, we're good.